Ladies and gentlemen, the show we've all been waiting for. Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present REP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts, Kim Purvis and Allison Robinson. Live every Thursday night on Spreaker, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Be sure to check out their Facebook page, REP Paranormal Busters.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of REP Paranormal and Friends. We have a special guest for you with a remarkable story. David Ditchfield is joining us to discuss his book, Shine On, which is basically a story about how he was hit by a speeding train, drug under a speeding train, and lived to tell about it and had a near-death experience that brought you some remarkable insight and abilities after this. So welcome, David, to the show.
Hi, Alison. Thanks for having me along.
Yes, absolutely. I was very intrigued when Gavin sent this to me. So now let's kind of go back a little bit, not too far, but what happened? Like, what was going on that day that all of this tragic incident happened to you? Can you kind of lead us up to this point?
Sure, I can do. Well, it all started with me saying goodbye to a friend. I was seeing her off at the rail station. I helped her on the car with her bags, gave her a last kiss and goodbye and a hug, and then the automatic doors closed and my coat got trapped and I couldn't pull it free. So I yelled at the top of my voice, but there was no guard around. The train pulled out of the station, and I thought at this point that I wasn't going to survive. I thought, this is it, I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. I just decided to just fight with it. I decided to go calm on it, and I got dragged along at great speed, and then I got pulled between the edge of the platform and then the speeding train and went under the wheels. But as I say, I just remained calm, and I just thought, I'm not going to let this huge beast take my life, mm-hmm. which the train became at that point. I got thrown around like a rag doll, and I was just, I was fully conscious throughout all this. Mm-hmm. Next thing I knew, I was lying in between the track, and the train was still going on, and I thought, it's not over yet. Keep your face right down into the gravel, which I did. The train moved on, and there I was lying there in absolute agony. And I looked down. I noticed that my coat that I'd been wearing was now ripped to shreds. Also, my left arm had been severed. Anyhow, I was still alive at this point, and they got me onto the trolley, and they got me down into the hospital. It was a 25-minute drive in the ambulance, so I was hanging on for life. Right. And I got to the hospital. There was a team of medics all waiting there for me, and they just got to work on me. And I knew that it wasn't all over still because I could hear panic in their voices. I didn't understand what they were talking about. Obviously, it was all science to me, but they sounded scared. Mm-hmm. And my family arrived as well, which all seemed pretty. Time kind of all seemed lost at that point, but they were there. And it was pretty much at that point that I left all the agony that I was in. I left all the trauma of the hospital and the anxiety of the whole issue, and found myself in a completely different space, as it were. I'd left my body, I'd left all the horror, and now I was in complete contrast, a beautiful, darkened space, and I felt very comfortable in that space. It was just like the pain had gone, the trauma had gone. And I looked around and I figured I didn't make it. I thought, this is it. I have moved on to the next level and I've died. I didn't resist it. I know that I've read since that some people do, because they got too much to live for. I didn't want to die at that point, but it just felt so much better to be where I was. So, so there I was. And then I tried to get my bearings, and I realized I was no longer laid on the hospital trolley, but I was on like what appeared to be a huge slate rock. It was like a medieval altar, if you like, and I noticed I was no longer clothed, but I was covered in like a blue satin sheet. And this sheet made me feel comfortable and safe. And I noticed that I checked my body and everything was back intact. There wasn't a single scratch or bruise,
Oh, wow.
So I thought, wow, this is amazing. So I just laid my head back and I remember seeing on the reflection of this blanket was white light. So I looked up and there were 3 grids of white light that were closing in on me. And I laid back and looked into that light, and the light that was coming from it just felt so comforting, and I felt like it was healing me. It felt like it was not only just healing, my body, but it was making me feel very calm. So I kept gazing into this light. And at that point, I felt the presence of somebody near me. So I lifted my head, and there was a person, an androgynous person, neither male nor female, just staring at me with this pure white blonde hair, with this skin that was radiating light from within. And this person was just gazing at me, and I thought, I know you. And I said to this bright soul, who are you? I know you. And he or she just kept smiling back at me with a very reassuring smile. But I felt that this person was guarding me, and I knew I was in a good place here. So I just laid my head back and bathed in all this beauty that was there. And then I suddenly felt the presence of somebody else had arrived, and I looked, and to either side of me there were 2 female forms, and the one to my right was kind of like, I guess, quite European looking, with long brown hair, and again a simple brown sort of dress. And the girl to my left was more Native American or Asian Indian or Brazilian maybe, and wearing a more traditional dress. And their hands were just hovering over my body as if to heal me, as if they were sending energy of love through their hands. And this energy was just like so intense, and it made me feel like every part of my body was being healed, but not only the body, it's like my soul was being healed as well. It was like they were slowly taking away all the years of baggage that I've been carrying, that we all do, all the hurt, all those different things, episodes of my life were being taken away from me. And they were getting down to the pure essence of my soul, and healing my soul. So it was a wonderful feeling and a wonderful place to be. So
that's amazing. We just had a gentleman on not too long ago who does research on the near-death experience. So it's always amazing to hear these different stories of how people, when they had these near-death experiences, what they see. Because, a lot of people think that they see the white light and then they either go back or they go forward. But the more I listen to people's stories, everybody has something different and unique about it. And so yours is very unique, because I have never heard anybody else talk about, somebody there like almost healing. So that's very amazing.
Yeah.
So what kind of effects did this have on your life?
Well, there were many other episodes to the whole experience, and the penultimate part of it was the bit that was to change my life, really. And that was, I saw a tunnel of white light, which I'm sure you'll find from your research, that there's quite a people see that. Now, this tunnel of white light came closing in on me, and I actually felt the presence of it before I'd seen it. I felt like every single molecule of my body was vibrating with this love, this energy of love that was there all throughout. And I looked, and it was just so awesome. It was normally it would be quite frightening to look at because it had all these huge flames that were like slowly rotating all the way around. But it didn't make me feel scared at all. I felt so safe there that I was going, wow. And I was being told a lot of things. The knowledge I was getting was all telepathy. And at that point, I was being told that this is the source of all creation that I'm looking at here. You know, this is God. This is not the image of God that I always figured God would look like. Like in most faiths, is normally has some kind of human form. You know, like in Christianity, you know, the guy with the beard reaching out to Adam. You know, this was this was it. So that was one of the main things that was to change my course. But I think ultimately the biggest thing that changed my life was that when I was there was no sense of time. So the past didn't exist, and neither did the future, only the present moment. And it felt great to be in that present moment because I'd spent most of my life concerning myself with past issues, mistakes I'd made and opportunities I'd missed, or worrying about the future, where my life was going to go, because at that point I was in a bad place, you know. But none of that existed. So that's one of the big lessons I brought back with me, was to not concern myself with the past anymore, or the future even.
Very nice. So when you came back, I know prior to, like, at one point you used to like build tree houses and things, but when you came back, now you have like these artistic abilities and you do music. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, but they're beyond anything that I could have done before. I mean, I started painting because I was scared I was going to forget everything that I'd seen, and I thought, how am I going to be able to tell the world about this at that point? Because I'd never even heard of people having near-death experiences, you know. So that's why I started painting, and you know, it was just something that I felt that the paintings had to be huge. They had to be like the big biblical scenes that you see, you know, in Rome by all the Renaissance painters, and so that's what I started doing. And the music came second, and the music came. Basically, I started writing music for orchestra, and I can't even read or write music, you know, I still can't, but I know exactly. So I realized that I was channeling a lot of the ideas that I was doing into my paintings from this other realm that I've been to. And I started to do the same with music. I started to write music, as I say, for orchestra. There was a lot of synchronicity came into play as well throughout my life after the NDE. One of those was that I met a cello player who used to come and see my paintings, and she was quite spiritual, so she became a friend. And I told her about this piece of music that I was inspired to write about my near-death experience, and that came through because I started going to spiritual healing at a local spiritualist church because I wanted to go there and see if they could help me untie what had happened, you know, and say, look, you know, this is. And they said, well, you had a near-death experience. And they said, we do spiritual healing. And you look pretty banged up at that, which I was at that point. You know, my arm was covered in plaster. And they said, you know, so I did. And some of those healers are clairvoyant. And they were giving me messages. And one of the most important messages that I was given was that I was going to write this piece of music about my experience. So that's how that all started. So I spoke to my friend about it over coffee, and she said maybe our orchestra could perform it one day. And I thought, why not? I got all this sense of ambition that nothing would stop me. So I started putting it together using my computer, and then my brother gave me this software that meant that when I played the parts on my keyboard, then it could transpose into musical notation, which you need for an orchestra.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I still, you know, the very first rehearsal, I turned up and I didn't know whether it's going to work or not, you know. This is like, but I had faith that it would, and it did. It sounded amazing, you know. It sounded like just how I'd heard it in my mind, and I knew I was being helped with all of this. And then the concert happened, and the concert sold out because I felt like I was being helped with the promotion almost, because they asked me to speak to the local press about my piece, and I said, yeah. And the guys there said, hey, hang on a sec, you're the guy who went under the train, aren't you? And I said, yeah. They said, you're going on the front cover. So from then on, the phone started ringing. Then the BBC said, we want to come and interview you at a rehearsal. So I said, fantastic. So, of course, that got to a lot of people in the UK, so it sold out 2 weeks in advance. And so the atmosphere was just tremendous at that performance. You know, it was just a beautiful experience for me. Yeah,
That's amazing. And the thing is, okay, so you talked about, spiritual healing and things, but prior to that, you had actually gone to a medium and they had said there was going to be a big change.
That's right, yeah. That's the reason I went back to find that church as well, because I'd done that just by chance. I was non-spiritual. It didn't even enter my life before. It was just by chance. I was on a train and traveling up to see my sister and her family, and there was an elderly couple sat opposite me, and the lady got chatting with me, and she said, "We're going to see this medium tonight." She said, "She's not famous, but she's brilliant." And I said, "Okay, yeah," but I wasn't at all interested. But she gave me this flyer. And she said, "Here, take this and keep it." So I put it in my pocket. And when I'd arrived at my sister's, the kids were young then, and there was a lot of chaos. I said, "I'm just going to go and take a walk and a drink," So I did. And I thought, what, I'm going to go to this. So I went along to this this evening where the medium was performing, and I say performing because she was like a performer. Because I walked in, the place was packed, and I got a seat. And she was pacing around, and she was getting all these messages from loved ones to people sat there, and giving people so much joy. It was amazing to watch. Now, I didn't go there with any intention of getting a message from anyone, but she suddenly turned around and she said, "Gentleman in the blue sweater." And she looked at me and I said, "Me?" She said, "Yes, you." She said, "Your life is about to change. That's what they're telling me." I said, "Wow." And I thought, the lottery winnings or what, all that kind of stuff. And I said, "In what way is it going to change? And what are they saying?" And she said, and she started talking to them. She's going, "Yes, yes, yes, I know." And then she turned around and she said, "They're not telling me. They just said it's going to be huge. Be ready for it. And you will be protected." So that was it. So I knew, on retrospect, that's what they were talking about. So I needed to try and track her down and talk to her again. I wanted to see this person and tell her about exactly what her prediction had meant. Yeah.
And did you find her?
I did do eventually, yeah.
Yes.
It took me some time because they had mediums coming every week speaking at the church, and when I tried to describe her, I said she's got short black hair, and they're going, "No, I don't know." And then she did turn up by chance one week, because I used to go along to the church services each Sunday after that, And then she walked through the door, but she dyed her hair blonde, so that's why they didn't know who I was talking about. So I thought, that's why they didn't get it. And so there she was. And do you know what? She actually she hadn't remembered me, but she picked me out again that second time when I was there, And she was going, "I don't know why I'm picking this up, but they're telling me something about your trousers are ripped trousers. Have you got some jeans that are ripped?" And I said, "Well, yes, I did have, but I'll talk about that later, So of course I had a coffee with her afterwards, and we had a really good chat. So that was lovely. Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. Now, do you travel around at all and talk about your experience? Do you do anything like that?
Well, I have been. I haven't actually been traveling because the last 2 years we've all been kind of restricted to doing this,
right.
which has been fine for me because it's meant that I've been able to reach far more people, because I would not have been able to afford to have just jumped on a plane because I'm UK based,
right? Yes.
And I've people all over the world have been wanting to chat, so that's fantastic, So because my book came out. And once the book came out, I started doing interviews. And the book came out right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I didn't know which way it was going to go, but I didn't care. I thought, well, it'll find its own journey. And so I've been talking, to a lot of people in the States, in the US, Australia, everywhere, Europe as well. So so it's been fantastic just talking about it through either Zoom or whatever, or get a Skype and all these different things. It's brilliant, but we're all used to it now, aren't we? We're all used to sort of seeing people talking
yes.
with their kids walking in the room or their cats walking across the screen. That's common. No, that's okay.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's becoming kind of a normality, to say the least. Hopefully, maybe one day, things will change and people can get back out and, speak to an actual audience and things like that about especially this story, it's truly remarkable that you even survived anything like that. I'm just still really shocked about it, you know?
Yes.
And like your injuries, did you just have your injury to your arm, or?
That was the main thing. I had some internal injuries that I had to go back in a couple of years back actually for them to work on. But ultimately, for what happened, I came out I lived. I mean, the rail police in the UK did a massive inquiry on it because they have to for safety issues, and they took them a year. They took the train car down to London, and they told me they'd stripped the doors down to the last rivet, And when they finished their inquiries, the guy who was the head of the British Rail Police said to me, "Well, we're finished now." I said, "Okay, great," And he said, "Thanks for all your help." I said, "No worries." And then he said, "You know what? We're all still banging our heads together, saying, how did he survive? You should be dead. There's no way you should be with us here now talking. We don't get it." And of course, I knew that something bigger than all of us saved me that day. In fact, I was told in this spiritualist church by a medium who'd actually retired from doing mediumship. She was in her 80s, and she sat down and had a coffee, and she said, I saw your story on the news. I said, "Oh, right." And she said, "Yeah." She said, "You know that you were saved by your power animal that day?" And I said, "Okay, what's a power animal?" So she explained that we all have them, And she said, "In your case, it's a lioness. You had a lioness, and that, and also that your grandfather was very much a part of what happened that day, saving your life and stuff." So so there's something far greater than all of us that can take play and at these moments, and it's which is really reassuring to know that we've all got them there. Yeah.
I guess I hadn't heard about the animals, us having animals. I mean, I know I have spirit guides, but I guess I never. So that's very interesting. I guess I hadn't heard that part after the years that I've been doing this, but I hadn't heard about it.
No, it's not talked about that much, is it? But but I've heard when I've mentioned it to a few spiritual people, they said, that's really special. You have one, But in fact, that. The other medium that I talked about, Julia Knight, who gave me that first reading, she offered to give me. She said, "I'd love to give you like a tarot card reading if you were up for it." I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." She said, "It's for free because I really want to do this because we've connected now." I said, "Yeah," and I remember I met her. She said, "Come back to the church next week and we'll do it." So I walked into the church, and I walked through the door. And she said, "Oh my goodness!" I said, "What?" She said, "Sit down." She said, "I just want to tell you that." First of all, you got all these domestic cats in spirit who are like brushing against your legs. I said, "Oh, fantastic!" She said all the different types that they were, and they were like all the cats, family cats we'd had,
Oh my goodness.
And then and then she said, the most amazing thing is, she said, when you walk through that door, she said, in fact, you're stood there now. She said, and there's a lioness just sat right next to you. And I went, "Oh, wow, well, that's incredible." Then I told her that I'd been told there was a lioness that saved me that day. So it's wonderful when you get moments like that, because it's real. I'm not looking for proof or anything, but affirmation is the word, I guess. So it's lovely to get that affirmation. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Now, where can people purchase your book?
Well, Amazon, basically. Yeah, if you go onto Amazon, you can buy it, pretty much anywhere in the world. In the US, it's definitely up there. It's getting great reviews actually in the US, so people are really liking it. So thank you very much.
Yes, it's very good.
That's great.
I've been reading it, so yes, it's very good. Now, do you have social media? So if anybody wants to kind of see what you're up to, or if they have any questions, that they can reach out to you?
Please do. I mean, I have an Instagram account. You can follow me there and see where I'm up to and contact me. There's a Facebook page, YouTube channel. I guess if you go to my website, actually, if you're interested,
yes,
because that's like the main hub. So that's called shineonthestory.com. And if you go there, and you'll be able to stream that first piece of music that I wrote, the first symphony. You can hear that for free on there. So there's 3 movements to it, so you can have a listen. And also you can see some of my paintings on there and have a look at those. But ultimately, you'll get all the links for my social media. So please come and follow me. It's always good to have people along.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, I I need to check that out. Sorry, I thought I was going to hiccup there for a second. I just had to hold it in for a second.
I thought you were going to have a cat walk past you.
Yeah, at least Kim doesn't have any cats in her house right now.
No, they're all outside.
They're all outside, so I don't have to worry about that. But I lost my train of thought. I had a question for you, and now I hate that. I haven't had my caffeine yet for this morning, so I'm just like...
bless you.
As Kim is drinking her Pepsi. Oh, I can't remember what it was, and I'm sure it'll come to me afterwards. I will post all this information on our social media as well. So everybody who is listening can go to your website. They can give you a follow. Make sure you get his book. It is a truly remarkable story, and we're so thankful that you're here to share it with us.
Thank you.
It's actually truly it's truly amazing to hear these things. So I did have one more question. Okay, so I kind of want to step it back. This kind of popped into my head, but when you had your near-death experience, you didn't really know anybody who was there with you. Is that correct? You didn't have any family members or anything that had popped in?
No, I didn't do no. They started coming through actually once I started having the spiritual healing. So my grandfather came through quite a lot there, so I was very much aware of that. And but I think in my case, a lot of because we all come back with huge sort of knowledge and lessons that we've learned from our near-death experiences. I think mine was really that I'd gone through my whole life beating myself up, if you like, and my big lesson was to give myself some love, some self-love, and that also the big lesson that there is a creator, that looks, but also that we're all part of the universe. That's another important thing to remember. That we're all part of it, and we're all moving forward with it. Yeah.
I just that question popped into my head, so I just wanted to ask it.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, no, thank you. I know that some people do meet their loved ones there, but it wasn't something that needed to happen, I guess, in my NDE. Yeah.
Okay. Well, once again, make sure you check out everyone who is will be listening to this. Make sure you check out David's website, and you said that is shineonthestory.com. Is that correct?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And if you don't catch it on here, make sure you check out our social media. We will post this information for you as well. Make sure you grab a copy of his book. Thank you once again, David, for joining us. This was amazing.
My pleasure.
Hope to chat to you again soon.
Yeah, take care now. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for listening to REP Paranormal and Friends. Be sure to check out Kim and Allison on Facebook.